I would say the part of training that most people don't see is the amount of stretching and kind of activation work we put into everything. Sure, strength and things like that is important, but making sure you're limber enough to handle those strength movements is most important. I think my favorite part of the unseen hours are just all the unseen hours. I think I just really enjoy just the work in general. I enjoy, it's an individual sport. I enjoy the part where I get to practice by myself, do the things that I feel like I need to do, and I don't need a bunch of people around me to watch me do it. I think for me, I build the consistency by always having long-term goals I want to achieve, and that is what kind of keeps me pushing through especially some of the tougher days and not so good times. I think one thing that people really overlook when it comes to having discipline in your daily routine is just how valuable time is. I think especially as you get farther along in your career, really making sure that you're selfish with your time and making sure that you kind of put your craft first if that's what you want to do. For me, the role of hydration, I pretty much wake up first thing in the morning, have a bunch of water, make sure I'm hydrated. Same thing on the course, make sure I'm always drinking. During workouts, make sure I'm always drinking. It's the most important thing you can do, not only to just make sure you're hydrated, but also just kind of keep your system flushing all the bad stuff out and making sure you're fresh and ready to go. I think for me, a big thing that's changed in my prep and kind of my daily routine is making sure I get enough sleep when I'm on the road. I used to be somebody that could always function on really limited number of hours of sleep, and just realizing now how much better I feel when I get those 8-9 hours, especially on competition days. There's always those times when you're in tournaments where you're thinking to yourself, you see the specific shot and in the back of your mind you've worked on it countless times in the practice and by yourself on a certain hole at your home course or things like that. And so there's definitely been some moments, especially in my career, where I know I've hit the shot a million times and I can go back to that in my head, play it like a movie, and then just let it happen in competition. Overachieving, to me at least, is doing the things that other people aren't really willing to do. So, it's kind of like back in the day playing basketball, everybody was like, you couldn't be a 9-to-5 kid. You can't just show up to practice for a couple hours and go home. You gotta dribble on your own, go shoot on your own. And so it's kind of the same thing in golf. It's like you gotta be willing to go the extra mile, whether it's doing stuff at home, doing stuff in the gym. It's really, to me, it's just an around-the-clock job. I think especially in our sport, I think the power is in the repetition of everything. It's just whoever puts the most time in is gonna get the most out of it, in my opinion. I've always been into kind of the grunt work of things, and maybe I haven't always worked the smartest, but I'm willing to put in the hours and get to where I want to go. I'd say mentally is where I'm working the most. I think the brain is so powerful, and I think if you truly believe you can do something, you can do it. So I think you just have to be really careful to let doubt creep in, and making sure that when you do make mistakes, you're very honest with yourself and not try to blame it on something and say it was somebody else's fault or, oh, it's because this happened, and just take that ownership. I think for me, at least, how I handle success is just never being satisfied. I always expect more of myself. I always think there's more drops in the lemon. So, I have other goals that I want to achieve and things that I want to do. So yeah, just making sure that I'm never satisfied with wherever I am.